He's somewhere on this itinerary, somewhere on this.
That's how it should be. No. I know. I felt like I moved up and down at all. It's so much. That would be fun. I'm not sure, but I would.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the West Goshen Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, March the 17th. To start the meeting, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be aware this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube and that the meeting may also be audio or video recorded by people present in the room. Our first agenda item is public comment. So this is the opportunity for questions or comments by anyone in attendance about any topic that is not on the agenda this evening. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Mr. Rabari. Mr. Rabari, you have 2 minutes this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Abbas Rabari, 484-880-0276. I'm a full-time corruption investigator. I investigate corruption in the police department and municipality. This is the corruptest township I have ever discovered. As you guys are aware of it, you had a detective here, David Maurer. He was a detective of West Goshen. He was arrested because he was stealing drugs in the township building and giving it to the hookers for sexual favors. Of course, this is under the nose of your chief of police. Did you know there is no drug screening policy for the police officers with the gun? They don't have it. And also, there's another issue. Village of Shannon. Village of Shannon doesn't have homeowners association. It has a builder association. And this township is running away from their responsibility after receiving all that money. You have to ask yourself why they are so afraid of me to talk. What is going on? By the way, I'm a taxpayer of West Goshen. I have all my documents here. I have served them. By the way, Mr. Chairman, I would be refiling that lawsuit again very shortly. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in attendance who wishes to make a public comment? Doug?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Happy St. Patty's Day. I'm Doug White, West Goshen Township. I have 4 things to say, but there isn't corruption here. There's disagreement and agreement. You fix problems where they are, but there's no corruption. Corruption does not equal problems. We fix our problems. Okay. We're at war right now, although it doesn't seem like it, but thank you for our fighting men and women in the Navy and the Air Force, the IDF, God bless America, Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you. Storefront safety and building front safety, we should still have on our radars and to put in our subdivision land development ordinance, especially what happened with Temple Israel and Michigan, and it always happens, storefront crashes. We should be able to do something about that in our land development ordinance. Also, I have a question. The mosque on Pottstown Pike, are they paying for a police detail on Friday afternoons?
Chief, do you know the answer to that question?
I do, they are.
They are paying, good. Okay. I'm also going to say something which is my opinion. I may get some flack for this, but it needs to be said. It's about the Planning Commission and what happened at the Planning Commission last meeting. Now, admittedly, I did not speak up about it, and I did not oppose, although I should have. And what happened was, the way we chose our officers, the prior chair nominating his own successor, we shouldn't be doing that. And it's really by custom not allowed. And I will be speaking about that again at the Planning Commission meeting. I just wanted the Board of Supervisors to know, of course, Mr. Hellman was there, he saw that happen. But I hope that does not happen again, and those decisions about who becomes an officer should be more open about who wants to do it, who's interested, who's not interested, and then take a vote on nominations or take nominations. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Is there anyone else with comments tonight? Yes, ma'am. Would you mind stating your name?
Hi, my name is Patty Yarnell. I'm from the Oak Hill Development off of Grove Road. And I'm here tonight with some of my neighbors regarding storm sewer or the storm water problems on Delaware Avenue specifically, but in the neighborhood itself. And I've been in contact with John Hellman, very helpful, and I have the regional stormwater report that indicates the feasibility of storm sewers going into our neighborhood. And I just wanted to put it on record that we really need this. The water comes down the hill into my property as well as the properties on either side and down the hill from us. It's causing a lot of erosion. I've spent thousands of dollars trying to seed my front yard, trying to beautify with everything just being washed down. The yards and the driveways and causing erosion further down the property. So I just wanted to go on record with my neighbors and say we would appreciate this being considered as one of the next projects for the township. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else with a public comment tonight? Margie?
Hi, good evening. It's Margie Swart. Nice to be back. It's been a couple of months. We had some email correspondence recently, first of the year, regarding supervisors' health insurance. And really why that came to light, I probably wouldn't have even questioned it but I turned the magical age of 65 this January, so now I'm on Medicare, and I
Congratulations.
thank you. I navigated the private healthcare system for the previous 3 years, and then trying to figure out Medicare and supplement and Advantage plans and G plan and N plan. So you get where I'm coming from. So then that got me down to checking into when one of the supervisors requested to be on the township health insurance, and I won't rehash that specific situation because we've had email communication about it. But I believe a couple of our supervisors, I joined the club of being on Medicare this year, so I wanted to ask specifically which of our supervisors over 65 and over are on our township's health insurance plan.
Well, I am.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
every one of these supervisors who wants to be on the plan we have an agenda item, a public comment, and an agenda item for to pass whether they can join the plan or not. So it's public record.
Right, and that's my question, and I don't have a problem with that because what the law and the second-class township allows for, I think is different than what health insurance plans you all are on, and please correct me if I'm incorrect. But I have the second-class township code here, and it says supervisors and their dependents who are over 65 years of age are eligible for inclusion in supplemental medical or Medicare insurance coverage paid. So I believe what you're all entitled to, and as a taxpayer, happy knowing, the small little stipend you all receive for all your hard and diligent work. But we got to get this right. What our law allows for you all to be on is for the township to reimburse you for any supplement. It doesn't allow for you to be on the full-fledged, very expensive health insurance plan that the employees are under. So if you will look into that and make any adjustments, it probably can't be made this year, but maybe by next year that could be taken care of. Thank you.
If you could please send that particular section of the code that you're referring to Chris, and we'll have our lawyer look at it.
I'll send an email as well.
Yeah, thanks for the information, because I'm paying for my own supplemental insurance plan. You're telling me that the township can reimburse me for that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Anyone else with a comment? Ms. Wills?
I'm Nancy Wills. I live on New York Avenue in Oak Hill. And Patty forgot to leave the photos that we took. Should we give these to Chris? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we understand we're kind of in the queue for stormwater management, and we hope that we're the next one up. So thank you very much.
Anyone else with public comment? Stephen?
Good evening, Sean, members of the Board of Supervisors. Just want to read a brief statement in regards to the proceedings that happened yesterday. I'm Stephen Lyons, representing Save Forsyth Farm, opposed to the demolition and development of a historic Quaker farmstead of enormous local and national significance. Statement from Forsyth Farm regarding Judge Verway's March 16 order, dated today, March 18, 2026. On March 16, Judge Verway issued an order, part of the conservatorship filed by West Goshen Township under the Conservatorship Pennsylvania Act 135, the Blight Act, for demolition of the 207-plus-year-old historic home known as Forsyth Farm, located at 905 West Town Road, Westchester, Pennsylvania. This history includes education, abolition, Underground Railroad, civil rights, Quaker, and Lenni Lenape history. While we assert Township's right to address a public safety concern, the conservatorship does not take into account historic preservation, environmental concerns, flooding, wetlands, destruction, traffic issues, and other concerns not addressed in this conservatorship. The conservatorship order issued by Judge Verway September 2025 established an impossible, narrow 30-day window for neighbors and interested parties to file as, quote, parties of interest, end quote. This places an unreasonable burden on our community to seek legal representation, raise money to hire a lawyer, and find a lawyer while the township is well lawyered. Furthermore, the local legal community has a broad legal footprint working with townships and developers which present conflicts of interest. Mr. Kravitz of Builder Direct Homes has a history of multiple liens, fines, multiple sheriff sales on this property going back decades. He faces litigation for workmanship in other municipalities and townships, including court case Karula versus Kravitz in Delaware County. Although Mr. Kravitz has verbally stated his intentions to build 10 homes on this land, 905 West Town Road, the 8.5 acres are not suited for development. Any demolition or development of this historic property will face the strongest opposition, and Save Forsyth Farm will continue to seek legal recourse to protect neighbors, our environment, and our history. In the year of semi-quincentennial, it is outrageous how American citizens are being shut out of the right to preserve and protect historic resources of local and national significance. Our community, including octogenarians, longtime neighbors, and some with health conditions, have shown up consistently to Board of Supervisor meetings, met with Chester County commissioners, historic preservationists, and dozens of lawyers over a 5-month period. We, the people, have a say in the protection of our historic resources. I thank you, and I would like to submit this as record. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Does anyone on the board want to respond to Stephen's statement? I just wanted to point out a couple of things. First of all, I believe the board has been totally transparent about this whole process, starting with the meetings back in September when we discussed what conservatorship was, what the likely process would look like, and the potential outcomes from this. So I think there's been plenty of opportunity for people to understand what that process would look like. I think we all share a disappointment in what has happened to this property over the last 23 years. It's been a shameful situation. However, property rights in America are very strong, as you all know, and the property owner actually has had the right at any time over the last 23 years to completely demolish the existing house if he so desired. There's no protection for that property in our local code or ordinances, just the value that's provided from its history. If he sees that differently, he would have had the right to demolish it. Unfortunately, it's reached the point that it has, and the judge has made his decision with respect to the direction. So, all right, is there anyone else with public comment or questions?
I just want to add to that, we now have, or in the process of putting in an ordinance which would address situations like this so that it won't happen again in the future. It's an historic ordinance which is designed to not allow demolition by neglect of our historical assets in the township. And hopefully going into the future, we won't have this kind of situation that we will have to deal with.
A quick rebuttal?
You may.
Thank you. Other townships flowing from the 1966 National Historic Preservation Act have been very assertive in protecting historic resources, unfortunately, and I do want to compliment this body for producing a historic ordinance that's now under consideration, which will prevent this. But this property, of all the properties in our township, really merits extraordinary measures. And I would encourage township to consider either eminent domain or consulting with the conservator to say that there is a body of well-funded donors who would be willing to step up and help rehabilitate the property. And one other quick point, we need a vision for this property. It's not conducive to development. Half of the acreage is wetlands, witness trees, endangered species of bog turtle and red-bellied turtle. So we encourage you to think about some creative solutions.
Okay, thank you, Steve. I just want to say anything to do with development really has not been in consideration at this point because there is no proposal to develop it at this point. So in terms of what is doable on that property is completely, in my opinion, still to be determined. So wetlands, floodplains, endangered species, and other criteria all have to be considered by any developer that would come forward with a proposal. So That is a future consideration should this property enter that phase of its life. Okay, anyone else with any public comments or questions?
No one else does. I have something I'd like to read for the record. And, I'd like to offer condolences to the family of Corporal Tim O'Connor, who was recently killed in the line of duty. I'm very sad about this situation has occurred. There's going to be a funeral services for him tomorrow in Downingtown. There'll be several roads that have been closed down for a long period of time. So again, you would keep the family of Tim O'Connor in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you, John. Okay, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is number 4, discussion regarding initiatives, projects outlined in the draft park, recreation, and open space plan. So before the Board of Supervisors this evening is discussion regarding these initiatives and projects outlined in the Township's draft park, recreation, and open space plan. Specifically, the discussion items before the Board outline certain short-term initiatives. By way of background, the Township received a Vision Partnership Program grant from Chester County for the development of a park, recreation, and open space plan. The plan has been worked through a steering committee consisting of members of the Board of Supervisors, Park and Recreation Board, Planning Commission, and the Sustainability Advisory Committee. This plan will ultimately serve as a supplement to the Township's comprehensive plan. The plan is in its final stages of development. This evening, we will be discussing certain short-term initiatives that are outlined in the draft plan. These include items such as incorporating more trees and benches into Community Park, installation of bicycle racks, installation of recycling bins, and establishing nectar nodes in certain parks. Simultaneously, the Sustainability Advisory Committee has been discussing plantings outlined for Fresh Meadows Park, and the Board has received information in the packet related to what these initiatives are about, including the budget information for the specifics related to Fresh Meadows. As this is still a discussion item by the Sustainability Advisory Committee, it will also need to be reviewed by the Park and Recreation Board. So at this point, it is still in the development stage. Additionally, the Public Works Department has been looking at replacing the playground equipment in South Concord Road and Hamlet Crest Parks. This matter was discussed during a review of the 10-year capital plan. The equipment is currently 25 years old, and we've obtained recently updated inspection reports. So, that is an introduction. Do the board have questions or comments about what we're going to be reviewing tonight? If not, we'll look to Chris and our staff here in terms of talking about the details.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to note that we have our Public Works leadership team here as well as our Park and Recreation Director here to talk about any of these initiatives and answer any questions that the board may have. And they've all been provided with the material that's in front of the board this evening.
Okay. So my first question is, do we believe that these newer short-term, low-hanging fruit possibilities are of a substantial enough nature that they're not really accommodatable within the budgeted amount that we had in the 26 budget plan? We don't know yet.
We don't know yet, particularly as it relates to Fresh Meadows, because that's still kind of in the formation stages. We don't know what that cost would be to install those in that area. I know that the Sustainability Advisory Committee is looking at that. They have a copy of the plan document related to that specific item.
Okay, so we could potentially wait until we get a clearer picture as to what that specific opportunity is to do a project this year, and then authorize us down the road?
For that, yes.
Yeah.
I think some of the smaller items related to installation of benches, installation of bicycle racks, recycling bins, like those are pretty small ticket items that I don't want to speak for Mark or Mike or Ken, but I think those are things that can be kind of done in relatively short order. Would you guys agree?
I think so.
And where are we with the cost of the replacement playground equipment? Do you have any quotes yet for the scope of what we need to do?
We met with Voice Recreation, but we did not get the price.
Okay, so is it going to be a replacement in kind, or is it going to be slightly revised, or?
There was a lot of options, so
Okay.
I kind of find out, and I was just like, let's get together in 2 weeks and go over this again. Let's talk among ourselves before we make any decisions. Just a lot of options.
Okay. Mike, do you have any other thoughts?
Same thing Mark said.
Okay. Ken, have you any comments related to some of the low-hanging fruit that's in the Park and Rec open space plan?
No, I will say that the playground replacement, in my opinion, would be needed. The playground equipment is out of date. And as a safety issue, probably should be replaced.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
Just before we leave that topic, so just so the board's aware, so we have just roughly over $2 million allocated in the capital reserve fund budget associated with park capital projects. So that includes repairing 2 tennis courts, the completion of the Park and Recreation Open Space Plan, the final design for the improvements in Community Park, the splash pad project in Community Park, the family bathroom project in Community Park, which should be actually commencing construction by the end of this month, and the pavilion replacement in Cooper Smith Park. I can tell you that based on the quotes that Mike received for the Cooper Smith Park, which will be in front of the board on April 7th, that price will be significantly less than what was budgeted for. So there will be some cost savings there. In terms of the playground equipment, when we were talking about the capital plan, review, that was allocated at about $600,000 for both parks. I don't know what those prices were, because as Mark said, they're still trying to figure everything out, but there were a couple different options, but that was the allocation.
Which parks, Community in South Concord?
South Concord and Hamlet Crest. Those both have 25-year-old equipment, and based on the inspection that was conducted, they should be replaced. I fully agree with everything Ken, Mike, and Mark said. They should be replaced.
Mark, do you think the $600,000 is enough to cover the cost from these preliminary discussions you're getting, or was no pricing discussed at that time?
I think so. I mean, I've never priced out a playground before, just a new thing, to be honest with you. But I think so. These 2 parks, Hamlet Crest, don't get a lot of traffic at Hamlet Crest. So I think we can kind of scale that down. The South Concord, you get more traffic down.
Okay.
So, but I think $600,000, I think we'll be able to fit that in.
So Chris, I'm hearing also that if we're going to hopefully save some money on the pavilion at Cooper Smith, that would be probably more than enough to take care of providing these additional bins, benches, etc., and possibly even fund whatever we plan to do at Fresh Meadows when it's finalized.
Plus the implementation framework and deal with this whole thing.
Yeah.
Do that too, just small stuff.
Yeah. Do you think that's a reasonable supposition?
I would agree. I mean, if it costs us that much, based on what I know about the pricing, again, which will be discussed again on April 7th, I don't think benches will cost us that much.
Okay. So what action do you need from the board tonight?
So
it's just a discussion item?
It's more of a discussion item. The real action would be to authorize the team to go forward with the playground equipment replacement, because that was discussed during the capital plan. It was kind of like in a wait and see mode to see kind of what came out of this. To authorize going forward with that, as well as authorization to implement the short-term goals outlined here. But I would caveat that with the exception of Fresh Meadows. I kind of think the Sustainability Advisory Committee should continue their due diligence in conjunction with the Park and Recreation Board, because we will, under our ordinance, need the Park and Recreation Board's support for that initiative.
Also, the trees, I'm wondering if we can work with the SAC to get some free trees that we've gotten in the past.
So,
if that's possible.
So the SAC has been working on updating their tree plan, and that will be presented at one of the April meetings to the Board of Supervisors. So that can be incorporated into that as well.
Acquiring free trees.
Well,
I know Pico gave them in the past, Keystone gave us free trees in the past.
I have to go back and look at the tree plan. I don't know if they were free, but we could utilize some of the money that's available to plant trees in the parks. We also have maintenance items for tree work in our budget as well.
Yeah, because that was on year 1, having trees in community park and benches.
Yeah.
I also think there's going to be some additional trees or some additional shade installed as part of the splash pad project, if I'm remembering the plans correctly.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder, Chris, because I've forgotten that we put this in the capital plan contingent upon finishing the the overall park, rec and open space assessment before we move forward with it, and then the inspection having confirmed that it's time to replace it makes sense. So, I mean, personally, I think that we can continue moving forward with it as a budgeted item for the playground replacement. Hopefully it'll come in less than 600,000, and between that and what we expect to save on the Cooper Smith Park Pavilion will certainly allow us to more than put in some benches and recycle bins, and hopefully also take care of, when it's finished through the process, whatever we intend to do with Fresh Meadows and any trees that we may have for community park. Sound like a plan?
That sounds like a good plan to me, and what I would like to do is just have, Mike and Ken sort of work together and outline, good locations for benches in community park along the walking trail, and then they can go ahead and install them from there.
Sounds good.
And I believe, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Park and Recreation Board is going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow night, correct?
That is correct.
Yep.
All right. So as long as the rest of the board is in favor of that?
Oh, yeah, I have a
Yes.
question. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Question is, what is mandatory dedication of parkland/fee in lieu ordinance?
So I think that would be an amendment to the Township Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance that would require a certain percentage of open space or a fee in lieu of to be paid to the township whenever there's a land development project. Currently in the Township Subdivision Ordinance, there is a mandated parkland and open space provision for, I believe there's 10 lots or more, or if it's a 10-acre development or more, I don't exactly remember, but the number 10 rings a bell to me. The fee that was paid with Greystone that went into the Restricted Parks Fund was subject to that ordinance. It would also set forth, stricter criteria, I believe is what Ann was envisioning.
Right, so if the board's in favor, that's the direction then. Okay? Thank you, guys, appreciate it. All right, next on the agenda is item number 5, discussion regarding zoning hearing board application number 2, 2026 for 1005 Saunders Lane, seeking variances from sections 8438B, 12 and 8454F1 of the West Goshen Township zoning ordinance.
Now, let me just start as a former camp counselor at the park. I don't want to see the pavilion skimped on too much. We had a lot of good summers there, did a lot of good things for kids. And those of us that worked here enjoyed the shade of the pavilion.
Thank you.
I can tell you an absolute, not to interject, but I can tell you an absolute certainty, knowing Mike and Mark, they're not going to skimp on anything. They're going to do everything properly.
So,
So you wouldn't mind introducing yourself?
Sure, Mike Gavin, former camp counselor. A few years ago, unfortunately, but good times had. I'm here on behalf of Eldridge Inc., which will be the tenant of the property. If the board doesn't mind, it'd probably be easier for me to step up and I can show you quickly what we're doing, and we'll be out of your hair real quick. The ordinance requires when a industrial use is adjacent to a residential use, a 100-foot buffer. So Mr. Bernard's home, even though it's an industrial property, is here, so we're required to have a 100-foot setback. Also, the Harrison Hill apartments are here, so we have a 100-foot setback as well. Chris, could you just go to the second page that has one more? There we go. So the Harrison Hill setback reduces our property net acres from 2 acres to 1.12 acres. When you add the setback to Bernard property, it's 0.62 acres. Finally, there's some steep slopes in this area. We're not sure how they got there. When you look at it, anyway, regardless of how they got there, the net from 2-acre lot is 0.57 acres. So obviously you cannot develop the property in accordance with the ordinance, so we have hardships that we believe will allow us to carry the day with the zoning hearing board. I have met with Mr. Renard and his son with regard to our impact on their property, gone through the variances with them, and they have no comments. We have met with the Harrison Apartment Group, Baxter Group, Baxter Properties, and we have a framework for resolution of their concerns. Some of them will be reviewed with the zoning hearing board. Some are not part of the zoning hearing board process, but we have a framework of agreement with them. We'll work that out directly with them during the course of the next couple of weeks, but certainly before the zoning hearing board issues its decision. So with that being said, the The entitlement to the variance is fairly straightforward. The use of the property is for additional trucks parking area. So Eldridge already owns the adjacent property, which would be here, where they have office building and equipment already staged. This would allow additional equipment to be brought to that property. You may be familiar with their current facility at Fern Hill Road, where the majority of the tractors and trailers are kept. This will allow them to offload some of those tractors to this location along with the trailers. The development is two-phase, so this, what's in red is really the parking area for the trailers, and this area here is for the cars for the drivers. One thing that we'll be doing in conjunction with the neighbors is there's concern that the tractors and trailers become closer to that. We'll have to figure out during the land development process how to provide a separation between them, bollards or something along those lines, so we don't impact the stormwater that we'll have to address during that process. But we've been good neighbors with the Harrison or the Baxter property, and we'll continue to be good neighbors going forward. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So just for clarity, the variances you're seeking from the zoning hearing board are the 100-foot setbacks on two abutting property owners, and then also the issue of the steep slopes on the property.
Correct, and then the fourth is with regard to the landscaping. So within the buffer, there's two stages to your buffer. One is the distance, and two is the makeup of the buffer. So with regard to the property to the Bernards, this is going to be planted consistent with what the Eldridges have done behind their existing facility, which is a mix of green giants and monarch butterfly habitat. So that will be continued along this property line here. This is going to be a mix of plantings in conjunction with our neighbors from the Baxter property. So we don't have that nailed down yet, but that will be done during the land development process. There is a basin, most likely will be in this area based on how the topography lays out. So that will also dictate how much depth we have here and what can be planted there because of the need for them to be hardy enough to support a wet environment.
Okay, so what still needs to be resolved between you and the adjacent property owner that you mentioned?
The wording of it. So some of it, there's not enough room on our property to do what they want done. So just it was redone on the adjacent property that's currently occupied. Some will be on their property, some will be on our property.
Okay. And were there any issues that were raised at the Planning Commission review of this?
Yes, but the Planning Commission had asked us to work in conjunction with the Baxter property team, which we have done, and Mr. Baxter was at the meeting. He told the Planning Commission that we had worked with them in the past, and that was what he was asking, that we do so going forward, and that's what we've done.
Yeah, the planning commission decided to recommend to the board to be neutral, contingent that you two guys work stuff out. So it sounds like that's moving along. So that's good. Just for the record, can you tell us what Eldridge Inc. is? What do they do? What are they in the business of?
They transport waste. That's good enough.
It's an environmental service company.
Right, it's an environmental service company.
Who I've used in the past.
What's the time frame to finish the project?
If yesterday was too late, tomorrow is definitely way too late. So as soon as we're for the zoning hearing board, we'll be back. They told Chris to work all night so that the plans are ready for tomorrow. But the Eldridges have been here since the 70s on Fern Hill. 1980. So, you know, they're long-term corporate residents, and they're looking forward to expanding at this property. So as quick as can be.
Okay, thank you. Shelby, any comments? Okay. All right. Anything else from the board? So what's the position of the board on this application? Hang on a minute, let's just hit it.
We should be neutral.
Margie?
Are the residents of Harrison Hill, are they renters or do some of them own their units?
Wrong guy for that.
They're renters. Okay. Somehow I would just hope that all those renters, because there's a lot of units there, that they were notified of this. I don't know if that's a 4 or 5-story building and those apartments and their decks.
So
legally, we have to notify the owner. So similar to the way any other zoning hearing board would work, there's a 500-foot radius from all corners of the property that notifies all the owners. Unfortunately, if I was to mail out, to every single renter as well as every single owner, the cost of mailing alone and the time to do that would be excessive. So the hope is that, similar to the way we would do any other, large commercial building that rents, the property owner informs the tenants. Plus, there are other means and methods. It's in the newspaper, general advertisement, or general circulation. The properties are posted. It's on our website. So there are other means and methods besides mailing that we notify people, but to mail to specific renters would be challenging.
And will hazardous materials be stored on the site?
No.
So it's just a truck staging area, the parking area is not going to be like currently what it is now when you drive in on it into Eldridge and
Which plant on Fern Hill?
Pardon me?
It's not like the plant at Fern Hill, if that's what you're talking about.
Okay, it's not an expansion of that facility that those operations are going to.
We're moving trucks there so we can eventually expand at our Fern Hill property for what we do.
All right, thoughts?
Just so I'm clear, this is actually, the actual building of Harrison House is, I don't know, it's quite some distance from the closest property,
Are you
right?
able to fast forward to the pictures?
It's not even visible there, is it?
Well, these pictures will give you perspective. So there's a significant topographical difference between the two properties. So Chris, you want to stand up? This here is Chris. So how tall are you?
6 feet.
6 feet, okay, so this is the top of the Harrison Hill Apartments.
Okay. So you're basically saying it's not really visible?
Right.
Okay.
If you have X-ray vision, you're good to go. But short of Superman, no.
All right, so board, any stay neutral is what I heard, right? Okay, so you're on the zoning hearing board agenda for March the 23rd and Monday, so good luck with that. Thank you, we appreciate it. Okay, next is agenda item number 6, discussion and possible adoption of resolution number 7, 2026, establishing an official policy that West Goshen Township's law enforcement officers and resources shall not be engaged in the enforcement of non-criminal federal immigration laws. So recently, the Chester County District Attorney's Office and the Chester County Police Chiefs Association issued a joint statement regarding law enforcement for civil immigration orders issued by the federal government. Their statement described 3 principles, which I'm going to read out to you from their statement now. First, that Chester County law enforcement does not enforce civil immigration orders. In fact, none of the police departments in Chester County have signed Section 287G agreements with immigration and customs enforcement. Secondly, during major use of force events, such as a police shooting, local law enforcement immediately responds to the scene and ensures that everyone in the area is safe. Officers simultaneously work to negate any immediate safety threat, provide first aid to everyone injured, and secure the crime scene. Investigators from the District Attorney's Office, the Chester County detectives, and local law enforcement begin an investigation to determine if any Pennsylvania laws were violated. We will take as long as we need to gather a complete understanding of what happened, and it does not matter whether the incident under investigation involves local, state, or federal law enforcement. There will be a complete and independent review by an experienced team of detectives and prosecutors. That has been the practice in Chester County for decades, and it will continue to be the practice in the future. And finally, Chester County law enforcement is dedicated to protecting the public, regardless of their immigration status. That means we will keep families, businesses, and their property safe during times of unrest. It means that we will hold people accountable for interfering with law enforcement. It also means that we are devoted to ensuring that residents can exercise their constitutional right to peacefully protest. We have always been and continue to be protective of your right to free speech and your right to property. Simply put, Chester County law enforcement is dedicated to upholding the rule of law and ensuring that Chester County remains a safe and prosperous community. In support of this position, before the Board of Supervisors this evening, is Resolution Number 7, 2026. This resolution would establish as policy that the Township's law enforcement officers shall not be engaged in the enforcement of non-criminal federal immigration laws. The resolution concludes with, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of West Goshen Township hereby declare that West Goshen Township will neither initiate nor accept any requests from any department or agency of the United States government to enter into any program or memorandum of agreement that would commit township time, funds, efforts, or resources toward immigration and customs enforcement, non-criminal administrative enforcement activities, including entering into any agreement which authorizes any law enforcement officer of West Goshen Township to apply and enforce federal immigration law under Section 287G of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Be it further resolved that West Goshen Township will continue to fully comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and may consult with the Township Solicitor, the District Attorney's Office, and other professional advisors as necessary to ensure the protection of the rights and liberties of all residents. Okay, so does the board have any questions about our proposed resolution?
No, I don't have a question, just to make a comment. The resolution we have before us for consideration tonight is almost identical to one that was passed recently by the East Whiteman Township.
West White.
And this is, the only thing we did was change the name from East Whiteman to West Goshen.
And our resolution is fully in support of the position of the Chester County DA's office and the Chester County Police Association. So.
May I ask a question?
Hang on a minute. Is there anyone else on the board with a comment? Okay, yes, ma'am. If you mind coming to the microphone and stating your name.
Hi, Marie Baglivo, West Goshen Township. I read that online and I don't fully understand, like in a summary version that's not in legal language, does that mean we are complying with ICE, we're not complying, or we're only complying for anyone that has engaged in criminal behavior other than entering the country illegally, but in other criminal activity, or we're helping them, we're not helping them? What does that all mean?
So my understanding, and I'm sure the chief will correct me if I get it wrong, is that we will not help ICE in their civil enforcement of people who may be here illegally. If they have an issue with respect to criminal activity, a warrant for someone who's committed criminal offenses, then we will support their needs with our police department.
So we will support helping them for criminals.
Correct.
But if somebody's living here illegally and they're just doing their thing, we're leaving them alone.
That's a good summary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well that sort of works.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else with a comment or question? The lady at the back, if you would mind.
Susan Lorgy with West Goshen Township resident. I just became aware of this afternoon. I do have some comments and questions, and that is, I don't understand why we would take away, federal law enforcement cannot force local law enforcement to comply in such cases. So why would we force the fact that now local law enforcement does not have the right to do so? And in so doing, you may have some local law enforcement who ethically or morally feel that they should engage, and by passing this resolution, they are no longer able to. I understand that it takes up resources, but I also understand that local law enforcement does engage in other civil activities and issues. So therefore, it's a matter of deciding that this civil issue does not warrant the attention of local law enforcement, but other civil issues do. Not everybody may feel the same way. So right now, without that resolution, local law enforcement does not have to comply. You're now forcing it. We talk all the time about people having rights, people getting to make their own choices. You're taking that choice away by passing this resolution.
Thank you for your comment.
It's a matter of making a policy to that effect.
Right. Enforcing a one-sided, no longer making it a choice of local law enforcement.
And it has to do with civil enforcement, not criminal.
I said it's civil enforcement, but what you're doing is you're taking away the ability of local law enforcement to make that decision. You're taking it away from them, and you're making it for them. I believe local law enforcement should have the right to make their own decision, and they currently have that right because they are not obligated to enforce the federal policy.
The policy we're establishing here, there won't be any enforcement on the civil matters by our local police departments.
And I'm saying that you're boxing them in and taking away their right. That's what I'm saying in response to what you just
Well,
said.
it's not a right, it's the decision of the Board of Supervisors as to what the police department can engage when it comes to these civil enforcement matters. So we have established a policy that we will not enter into agreements to enable them to support federal law enforcement, which is funded through a different mechanism than our local police is. So we understand your opinion, we recognize that.
Right, but let's be very honest. What you're saying is right now, local law enforcement has the choice. They can engage or they don't have to engage. If this resolution passes, local law enforcement is not permitted to engage. I don't know what the resolution, what the outcome of that is. For instance, if a local law enforcement feels, an officer feels that ethically they want to engage in such case, will they be fired? What will happen?
So Chief, I hate to put you on the spot, but the question, if you don't mind coming up.
So to help out, it's been the policy of the West Goshen Police and almost every department around here. That's been our policy for years. This is not new to us.
Well, it's a new resolution.
There's a resolution, but that's been our policy, exactly that, for years, and there's no difference. They did not have a choice to do that before that. It's against our policy.
Well, if they didn't already have a choice, then why bother with the resolution?
Well, because,
You just said it makes no difference.
let me answer the question for you. So we have a lot of residents who wonder whether we do have a choice, and this is a supporting statement by, in our way, issuing a supporting statement, which is a resolution from the board in support of the joint statement of the Chester County DA's office and the Police Association. So that's why we're doing it. We're making sure through this resolution that people understand the position of our police department.
I respectfully disagree with you there because I understand what you said about the county and about the DA. This is the township, okay? According to what you just said, all you're doing is making it known to people that this is what's already in place.
Because people are asking us those questions.
Well, then just answer it instead of putting a resolution in place.
This is the way of making sure
I don't see
everyone
anything.
knows.
I don't see anything in writing right now that says the local law enforcement is not permitted to assist federal in West Goshen Township. Can you show me? Can you show me where that's documented?
Chief, is it in the policy manual?
It is, I can show you.
I would like to see that. I would like to see that. What are the consequences if an officer chooses not to comply with the no compliance, meaning they choose to assist federal law enforcement?
It runs the gamut. It's a disciplinary action.
Okay, meaning, so if it must be in print that there is something taken that they must comply with this.
They're breaking the rules, and there's a process of breaking them.
Okay, I'd like to see that policy. I don't favor that policy either, because I believe we should allow local law enforcement to enforce the laws as they see fit, not that they should not be allowed to act.
Okay, thank you for your opinion. Is there anyone else with a comment? Margie?
I don't know what I'm gonna need here, so I brought it all up. I'm just curious, again, about procedure sometimes with the township. This is the first anybody's seeing it, so this was, I'm gonna say, was obviously discussed amongst the board already to be able to have it in written form. So when did you all discuss it, and were any sunshine laws broken? And specifically, it started, it was birthed by someone, so.
Yes, so Mr. Hellman suggested that since West Wyland had already passed a resolution along similar veins, that he would like to see one introduced to this board. And he asked the township manager for the solicitor to prepare the draft. And that is what we have in our packet. And John has mentioned that this is something he was doing. We said, sounds good, bring it to the board.
All right, and I think you all know me, have known me long enough now to know that I'm not a political person, and politics raises the hair on my back, and this just screams political statement to me more than it does something you all just want to
Like I
pursue.
said, Margie, we are getting asked questions by residents about what the policy of this township is with respect to our police department, taxpayer money being used to support federal immigration law. This is a way of making clear to them that the Board of Supervisors has a policy in place.
Well, you heard the police chief
I
said.
understand. What's your next question, please?
Okay. So I think you said who drafted the ordinance? I know you said you just copy and pasted basically, which is fine. I understand that's how these things work. But who actually wrote it up? Did we engage?
Kristen, right?
Okay.
Chris. Chris wrote it.
Okay.
And this is the first I saw it, which was in the packet.
So this resolution, you're saying it doesn't change anything, right? So why?
I've explained why. We don't need to go over it again. What's your next question, please, Margie?
Okay. Someone messaged me, and it was so brilliantly worded that I asked them if I could share it, and certainly. But concerns that I echo. He said should be strongly emphasized that local law enforcement not cooperating with ICE only makes ICE's job harder, which makes everyone less safe. They will still enforce immigration laws regardless of local assistance. A township or city can't just opt out, quotes, of federal law despite what, sorry, some knuckleheads think. Sorry.
Okay, we've been called worse.
Okay. If the township refuses to work with ICE, then it's deliberately choosing to make things more dangerous for all. Federal law enforcement, illegal immigrants, protesters who may choose to interfere, and everyday law-abiding citizens who may get caught in the crosshairs of a detainment. When you cooperate with federal agents, violent illegal aliens can be picked up, detained at prisons and courthouses to later be brought in front of an immigration judge for an immigration hearing, making it safer for all parties. And my one last comment is there's a whereas in here. It says, whereas in many cases, being present in the United States without proper documentation is considered a civil violation, not a criminal offense. Chief, I hate to put you on the spot, but if one of your officers pulled me over and I don't have my proper documents, my driver's license, my insurance card, my registration, what happens?
You could get a ticket or you could not.
Okay, so when you pull over, do you,
Pull over me and ask my
yeah,
immigration status?
well, yeah, so if you pull someone over for, you know, a broken taillight or whatever, and they don't have a driver's license, do you ask, or they don't have ID, do you ask if they have a green card or a
Driver's license. We'd ask for a driver's license.
So I'm required, they're required, but you don't have to, you don't ask for their legal status. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Margie.
All right, 287G, by the way, doesn't say anything about civil. It's all criminal. I read the whole thing. I didn't see anything that said any civil violations. So the fact that you're saying they're prohibited from engaging or ever considering this 287G is all about criminal enforcement.
Exactly, and that's what we're not going to do.
So, wow.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
You just said it.
Yeah. Yes, we're not going to,
Enforce criminal.
well, we are going to enforce criminal. We support criminal things. Chief, how much did you do when you, the department assisted with the effort to, I forget the band's name.
Cavalcante.
Cavalcante. How much do we help local, all state and federal law enforcement? Yeah. We didn't say we're not involved with this, he's not a criminal or anything, we got involved, right?
Yes.
There you go.
And this policy won't change that.
This won't change a thing. Any other questions? Doug?
Doug White, West Goshen. For this resolution, if this is not done, what's the hardship to the township if we don't do this?
Nothing changes with this, as we've explained already. So this is really making sure that people in this township know the position of the Board of Supervisors and make it clear our support for the Chester County DA and the joint statement that was issued with the Chester County Chiefs of Police around what we do and what we don't do with respect to immigration status in terms of law enforcement.
Okay, so Chief, so it was always our policy to not ask somebody to pull over their immigration status?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no reason. They're either driving legally or not. It has nothing to do with their immigration status.
Okay, okay. So the Federal Act 287, that completely applies to criminal activity, correct? Yes?
Well, that's what Margie says. We don't know if it's correct or not. Please shake his head differently. None of us are experts in it. If you want to investigate it yourself, please do so.
Okay. Well, personally, I would not vote for this. That's my opinion. As long as, I don't know, maybe there would be something added to this that says if there are extenuating circumstances that someone's in the township illegally, it might be civil, but there could be certain circumstances where immigration can come in and say, look, we need your help with this. There's a potential problem here. Is there room for that with this?
If there's a judicial warrant issued, then yeah, then the police department would pursue it.
Okay, so under certain, so this would not completely,
It would not negate the ability of the police department to do their job, which is to enforce criminal law.
right,
This has to do with federal immigration law, which has to do with civil offenses.
yes, and sometimes criminal offenses too. It can be both, because crossing the border illegally itself can be either criminal or civil.
It's a civil offense.
It's not, it can be criminal too. So if federal immigration came in and wanted help in a certain situation, will this prevent them, would this actually prevent our police department from saying anything or doing anything if they come in and somehow justify a certain circumstance?
For a civil offense or for a criminal offense?
Civil, or both.
Civil offense? No, the police department are not authorized to get involved and spend time and resources on it. If it's a criminal if it's a criminal issue, with a judicial warrant, absolutely they will cooperate.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Felice. I haven't seen you for a while. How's your foot?
It was my knee, and miraculously, my meniscus healed.
Oh, good. No surgery. No.
No surgery. Felice Fine, West Goshen. It's really just a quick question, I guess, more for the chief. That if in the process of immigration, perhaps picking up somebody who is here illegally, civilly, if a crime is committed in that apprehension, would the West Goshen police then be able to engage with that altercation?
Yes.
You would? Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Like 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
Every now and then there are just some issues that come up and it's like, I just ask that you, like I'm trying seriously to help. And it's like, I just feel, God forbid, if there's a tragic accident or a murder or rape or something that's committed in this township by an illegal alien or an immigrant that perhaps had been stopped numerous times before, whether it could have been prohibited or not, people are going to look at this board and say, it's because they passed this resolution and wouldn't let the police department do their job and ask for status. That's what I'm worried about. So I just want to put that on record that I
understand what you're saying, but your scenario does not make sense to me personally.
But it's already a policy.
Thank you.
I just wish you wouldn't pass it.
Well, you've already spoken, so if it's something new, fine. If not, we're going to move on.
I just wanted to make a clarification clarification on what this gentleman talked about earlier. So multiple re-entries after removal of deportation, subsequent re-entries by an illegal immigrant is a felony. So that then is a crime.
It's a crime. So,
And-
Chief, if ICE came to you trying to find someone or wanted to help with someone who had this crime of multiple re-entries, would the police department assist in ICE in that situation? Because a crime has been committed and it's got a warrant for the arrest for that criminal offense. So
Assuming
yes.
they already know that it is multiple.
Well, presumably if ICE are coming after this individual, they know it's a multiple re-entry crime and that's what they're seeking assistance
If
for.
they know that, yes.
Yes, thank
They
you.
won't necessarily know that.
All right, any other questions? All right, then we're ready to take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition?
Mr. Chairman, there was no motion or.
There was not. We got ahead of ourselves. So Mr. Helm has made a motion, I will second it. Is there any public comment or questions that we have not already covered? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 7. Discussion and possible approval of an agreement to vacate a portion of Brandywine Parkway and turn the property over to Teva Pharmaceuticals. So I'm going to introduce this and I'm going to ask Ari to comment. So before the Board of Supervisors this evening is an agreement to vacate Brandywine Parkway. Upon vacation, the property will be turned over to Teva Pharmaceutical. This was previously discussed at the July 16, 2024 and December 16, 2025 meetings of the Board of Supervisors. At the conclusion of the last meeting where this was discussed, the board directed the representatives from Teva Pharmaceutical to obtain signatures from the abutting landowners prior to taking action on the agreement. Teva Pharmaceutical has obtained the necessary signatures and the matter is before the board for final approval. Ari.
Thank you. This gives me an occasion to use my one joke. Road vacation is not as much fun as it sounds. So Teva Pharmaceuticals owns a public roadway that serves their building. Kefalon, I guess, is the other owner of the property. That property is not presently being used. The owner wants to erect barricades to secure that roadway. In order to do that, because it's presently a township road, the road has to be vacated. Chris is working on bringing up an aerial of the location so you see what we're talking about. But as Chairman Walsh said, at the last meeting, the applicant was instructed to go get approvals from the abutting landowners, which is necessary under Pennsylvania law. They've now done that. So the matter is back before the Board of Supervisors to approve the vacation of that roadway so that the owner can secure it.
Thank you. So there's nothing has changed with respect to the actual agreement language. That was what we saw previously, so there's no change there. All we have that's new is really that the signatures have been provided by the abutting landowners.
That's correct.
Okay.
So what would be the next step if we go ahead and approve this?
It would be executed by the township. And I believe it would be prepared for recording at that point. I'm not aware of any other additional steps that would be necessary, but I think it could proceed to recording.
So, Mr. Chairman, up on the screen right now is the property that we're talking about. It would be Brandywine Parkway from the intersection with Wilson Drive all the way back to this location here, right there. So the entire length. And as part of the agreement, they would be taking it in as-is condition, which was a stipulation of the board the last time this was discussed.
Okay.
And I spoke to Mark about this last week, and we verified that, because he was a little bit concerned that they were only going to take a portion of it, but we verified in the agreement that they're taking the entirety from Wilson Drive all the way to the back.
Okay. I noticed all the signatures were obtained separately, which is fine, which is okay legally. I think I double checked it that they all did sign, so we're confident they're all okay. I don't have any other questions.
And Kristen's office has been in contact with their counsel about this throughout the entire process.
Okay.
I had one from a legal perspective. On page 2 of the document, of the road vacation agreement, I should say. Number 5, when we talk about after vacation of the road, the township shall not be responsible for any maintenance or repairs. I would just add liability also. And at the end of 5, I would add and maintenance.
Well, this has been signed now, so if we change the language, you'd have to go back and go on to re-sign it.
I'm just saying, I think we should not have.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm understanding the edit. So on 5, you would Add what about liability?
Here, I'll show you.
Okay.
But if we're agreeing to vacate the roadway, the township assumes no liability because the roadway is no longer a publicly dedicated road under any kind of jurisdiction of the
And why do
township.
we list maintenance and all the other things there?
Township shall not be responsible for maintenance or repairs.
Yeah,
And then there's also maintenance, repair, replacement below.
yeah, it says we are responsible.
No, it says Teva shall not be responsible. Teva,
Yeah, it's confusing.
No, of any utilities.
Yeah, that's, first it says that we should not be responsible.
Right, of the
Then it says We
utilities.
are responsible.
no, and then Teva can't be responsible for utilities within the roadway because Teva didn't
Right, I
install them.
understand that, yeah.
But nor would the township be responsible for those utilities. They're the responsibility of the respective utility operators.
Right.
So it doesn't, there's nothing left, I guess is the way I would put it. There's nothing left to be liable for at that stage because the utility owners are responsible for their utilities. Teva's responsible for its ground. There's nothing else.
Okay. Is that where I had it under utilities?
Yeah, so you had it under 5 here. You were saying that the or liability is, there's nothing left to have liability for, I guess is my point.
Okay.
Fair enough. Any other questions?
And just for the record, the reason for Teva wanting to do this would be to allow them to set up some security fence there. That's the reason why.
That's correct. It's my understanding that this issue first kind of arose with concerns over potential trespassing on the property and security concerns.
Okay, well then I'll make a motion to approve the agreement to vacate a portion of Brandywine Parkway and turn that property over to Teva Pharmaceuticals. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nate. Any public comments or questions on this item?
Real quick, doesn't that abut the post office in that picture? How did he get them to sign off that it's okay?
I think there's a road between them, isn't there?
No, it's,
Well, the post office doesn't sign this agreement, so I don't think they're
That's what I'm trying to
considered a
figure
budding
out.
landowner.
And they were one of the abutting individuals, or abutting landowners that were identified.
I'm not against it, I don't care about it, it just was kind of.
I'm curious
Get the
now, I
federal
didn't see it
government to
again,
sign
sorry.
off. That piece of property.
Let's do it before we take a vote.
Does the post office own that property?
I don't know. Could be.
They do own the property. The post office does own the post office property. I think they have access to it.
Yes, Doug?
Is there any cost to Teva to do this?
Other than they paid for all the cost of preparing this, getting people to sign off on it and everything else. But we've expended some costs with our solicitor to vacate it, but there's no transfer fee involved.
Okay.
So, I mean, so this is the post office property right here.
So it does touch that roadway.
That's a very corner right there. You'll know. I remember, I just kind of remember this coming up before, and there would be no one who would sign off on it or we could get in touch with.
I'm not sure that's much.
Should it point touch?
Looks like there's the corner right there, but there's the road right away. This is road right away. I don't know who would sign it.
Or the postmaster to sign that post office.
What I was just saying to Ari is we have no point of contact with the post office, particularly since the fire.
Okay, but we're not on the hook to get these signatures, and Teva was.
Correct. Teva's responsibility is to obtain the appropriate signatures. If the post office, the postal department wishes to tell Teva that they can't abandon the road, then that could emerge in the future. But at this point, Teva can proceed with recording the vacation and the road agreement. From the township's perspective, we have no objection.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. Okay, agenda item number 8, discussion and possible approval of a 2-year agreement between West Goshen Township and Unilogic Inc. for software for the Township Codes Department. Chris.
Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is a proposed 2-year agreement with Unilogic Inc. This is the software service agreement for the Unilogic software used by the Township's Codes Department for permit management. Previous software agreement was approved by the board in 2023 for this product. During the course of the agreement, the Codes Department did evaluate other software options, but they were not viable due to a variety of logistical reasons. The previous 2023 contract that was approved included an automatic renewal provision, and this would effectively be an extension of the existing service contract. That being said, I did have the Township Solicitor review the updated service agreement. Reviewing the proposed agreement, there are certain concerns related to the limitation of liability provision. I've outlined that provision in here. I've provided that section, which is section 7, and the limitation of liability is capped at 3 months of the total fees paid, which would be roughly $4,000. When we asked Unilogic about this, they offered the following, and I provided the information that they provided. So ultimately accepting this as a policy determination for the board.
Okay. So this extension is a 2-year extension?
Correct, with an automatic, just like in the previous contract, it would have an automatic 2-year renewal on it, if it's not canceled within 90 days by either party.
So was this an automatic renewal that came up?
I'm sorry?
Was this an automatic renewal on the existing agreement that came up?
So
a 3-year agreement to start with, which is now expired in 25.
It was a 2-year agreement that expired in September of 2025. It had an automatic renewal provision without a 90-day, it had a 90-day termination clause. So it automatically renewed in September. We received no communication from them, and then maybe about a month ago, they contacted us saying with automatic renewals, they want something in writing, just kind of to document it. So that's what generated what's before the board this evening.
Okay, is this increase in price that's in here?
The 10%?
Yeah, when is that effective?
That was actually supposed to be effective back in September with the automatic renewal, but I haven't seen it go into effect yet. So that was included in what was approved in 2023.
Okay, so it was a flat 23, 24, 25 with this 10% in September of 25, 10% increase. Which they've not been billing us for.
Correct, not that I've seen.
Okay.
And it would be that price during the 2 years of this agreement, and then I believe there's a 10% escalator at the end of this provision.
Okay, so I don't like 10% over 2 years, it's too much. But if it's not had an increase since 23 to 26, and they're not billing us for an increase now, we're just approving a contract language extension, I'm okay with that. I wouldn't want an automatic renewal at 10% in 2 years' time. Any other questions from the board?
Well, if we approve this tonight, are they going to charge us retroactively for those months? Did that charge us the increased amount?
They haven't indicated that to us.
Okay. Another question, there was concern about liability, capital liability. Give an example of where the use of this program was used for permanent purposes. What could arise to the level of something of risk or an error that would occur that would become a liability issue?
Kristen and I kind of went through scenarios, and with these software contracts, it's hard to really envision where one of those scenarios comes into play. So it's ultimately a question of a policy determination if you're willing to accept a cap of around $4,000.
Yeah, I mean, the risk of using this software is that we make an error using it and approve something that shouldn't have been approved, or do something incorrectly with the software. It's not that the software itself exposes us to an additional risk. Is that fair?
I would agree, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think we need to. I mean, it says in here that there's some existing exceptions, such as willful misconduct or gross negligence. So if somebody programmed this thing to deliberately mess with us, we could go after them for those kind of damages, right, Ari?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right, so is a board member willing to make a motion to approve the agreement between West Goshen Township and Immunologic for the software for the Township Codes Departments for the 2-year extension?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Tina. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nate. Any public comments or questions on the motion? Margie?
Immunologic also our finance software.
No, that's Tyler Technologies.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 9, discussion and possible approval of an updated landowner agreement between West Goshen Township and the Stroud Water Research Center for a tree planting project in Barker Park. Chris, you have an update on this, I believe.
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. So just to summarize, the board had in 2024 had previously approved a landowner agreement with the Stroud Water Resources Center for a planting project on the northern portion of Barker Park along the stream bank. That was supposed to be done in 2025. And speaking to Kaylin Wiley at Stroud Resource Center, there were some issues that occurred. They found a new source of funding and are asking for updated landowner agreements. In that time period, the board authorized an evaluation by Land Studies for a stream bank restoration project under the township's pollution reduction permit. Today, I spoke with Callan Wiley, and there's an email in front of the board from him, essentially wondering if there was going to be a conflict between this project and what the board had investigated through Land Studies that was presented in the fall of 2025. So in speaking with Callan, he stated the following. I can confidently say that there will be a significant overlap between what Stroud's project aims to do and what Land Studies wants to do. Being abundantly familiar with Land Studies methodology and scope of work, I know that there will be a conflict. I did provide him with a copy of the presentation from October of 2025 and the excerpt showing the plan of what was to be done on the northern part of the property. They would need a 2-acre minimum for their contractor to do the job. The layout of the buffer that they wanted to install meant I was avoiding the bulk of the wetlands already present in the sewage line right of way. The rest of the planting along the stream was going to be immediately streamside. And if the township is pursuing the Land Studies project, we can reconvene with Stroud after they've completed their work. The type of heavy machinery that Land Studies uses to dredge the stream and cut the stream banks will disrupt the soil in any area we were planning on planting in. At that time, I'll need to make sure that we have a funding source available for this project. And if the township decides not to pursue the Land Studies project, then there would be no issues. He would just need to know soon.
Yeah. So that sounds to me, since the board is interested in these Land Studies projects because of the benefit it provides for our PLP compliance with the state MS4 permit, that we really can't proceed with this at this time because it would be a wasted process.
I would agree. I think what we can do is if the board and the township are going to move forward with the Land Studies proposal, we can move forward with that project, evaluate it accordingly, and after that's completed, we can reconvene with Stroud to see if there's any additional plantings or any other work that they can perform.
That sounds like the way forward. Anyone disagree on the board? Okay. All right, Chris, got your direction there.
I will communicate that accordingly.
Thank you. Agenda item number 10, discussion and possible appointment of the following individuals to the township's boards and committees. So before the board this evening is consideration to appoint the following individuals to the township's board and committees. Mr. Michael Rudder. Michael Rudder has applied to be an alternate member to the Park and Recreation Board. If appointed, he would complete a term that expires in January of 2027. In February of 2026, the Park and Rec Board voted unanimously to recommend his appointment. Mr. Ryan Fair has applied to be on the Sustainability Advisory Committee. If appointed, he would complete a term that expires in January of 28. On February the 24th this year, the Sustainability Advisory Committee voted unanimously to recommend his appointment. Mr. Jim DeAngelis has applied to be on the Historical Commission. If appointed, he would complete a term that expires in January of 29. On February the 26th, the Historical Commission voted unanimously to recommend his appointment. Mr. Andrew Husband currently serves as an alternate member on the Planning Commission and was appointed on October the 17th, 2023. As the senior most alternate member, he is being recommended for appointment to fill the vacancy of a regular member. If appointed, Mr. Husband would complete a term that expires in January of 2028. Ms. Dorothy Verdun, she currently serves as a member of the Sustainability Advisory Committee. Her term did expire in January 26, but was missed on the reappointment at the board's annual organization meeting, unfortunately. If appointed, Ms. Verdun's new term would run until January of 2028. So first of all, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who wishes to be a volunteer and serves on our boards and committees. It's very commendable, and we admire and recognize your public service. So with that said, does any of the board members have any questions on the applicants?
I just want to, since she's here, apologize to Dorothy for missing her on the organizational meeting, so I apologize for that.
Thank you for all your work on that committee. Okay, I will make a motion to appoint the individuals that I previously discussed to the appropriate township board and committees. Is there a second? Thank you, John. Is there any public comment or questions? Doug?
Yes, I was wondering if there is a policy on when there is an opening on a board.
Would you mind coming to the mic? I'm a little difficulty hearing you.
Sean, Doug White, West Goshen. I was wondering if there's a policy in regards to advertising a position for, say, 30 days before, or when there's an opening. Do we have to do that? Is that optional?
Chris, Ari, I don't think there's we don't have a policy. I know we advertise some in the newsletters, put it on the webpage.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if there's a specific requirement in the township's ordinances. I'm not aware of anything in the second-class township code that requires advertisement, though. Typically, townships just do it as a best practice. You want to advertise it as broadly as possible.
Yeah, some of these have been advertised for a significant period of time.
When you say advertise, we're talking about newsletter, webpage, board meetings. We're not talking about a paper ad, Doug. You know that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I just was wondering if there's, well, the planning, we were asked to decide on that opening right then and there, and I think, again, I didn't oppose it, but I thought afterwards, maybe to advertise it for a period of time, to allow others to.
Well, there's going to be, there's an opening automatically created.
Yeah, there's another opening now. That opening there was one that's been open for a while, so hopefully you were aware there was a vacancy for
well, that was for the chair.
No, on the planning commission, Doug Stewart resigned. Mr. Husband was recommended as the senior most alternate member.
Oh.
The opening that's been advertised for a while is actually the alternate member for the Park and Recreation Board, and the Historical Commission has also been advertised.
I understand that. My question is derived from the planning commission situation. That's good.
But there's going to be another vacancy created that will be advertised for an alternate member.
I think, this is my personal view. Again, if there's no specific policy or requirement, then I would have a different opinion. But if someone's already an alternate member,
that's okay.
Then it should be an automatic, in terms of take a vote to recommend this person is now a full member. I mean, that's sensible to me.
It's like you can apprenticeship, they've been there,
right.
Probation.
Right, but I was just.
You can always vote not to recommend them.
It's okay, but it was just a question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sorry, Chris, did you?
I was just going to say, I'll just note that the previous time there was an opening for a full voting member, it was when Mr. Crum was appointed, and Mr. Crum was an alternate member, and the board elevated an alternate member to the full voting position.
But he'd been serving the longest in terms of the alternates at that time, right?
He was appointed at the same time as Mr. Husband. He was one of the original 3 alternate members that were appointed.
Okay.
Yeah, I was watching that meeting from home, and I was baffled at what was going on. It's like, I don't think this is how this is supposed to work. It was wild, and I kind of encourage all of you just to go to the end of the meeting and see what took place. So I guess the Planning Commission doesn't have bylaws, so there's no, which is odd. I believe if you go through the Planning Commission at the county through some of their training courses, they talk about the importance of having,
We're supposed to have bylaws.
yeah, bylaws. There's nothing written. So this just happened kind of on the fly. So Mr. Stewart, the chair, resigned. So isn't it where the vice chair would automatically take over his position until the year is up?
No, there would be a vote on a new chair, and the vice chair wasn't in attendance at that meeting.
Okay, but Mr. Stewart still took part and participated in all of this. And
What was his resignation effective at the end of the month or at the end of the meeting?
I guess at the end of the meeting.
So he was still,
Yeah.
the meeting was still, had not been adjourned, correct?
That's
Correct.
Okay.
But there's not a vacancy yet. So I think that this needs to go back, and the board, the planning commission, should then now fill, because now Mr. Stewart his position is opened, and they can have a full discussion and open it up to, are any other members interested? There was a first and a second. There wasn't an opportunity for the board members to discuss. I don't know if any residents were in the audience, but there was no discussion or no opportunity for anybody from.
Well, I mean, the planning commission members, if they didn't like the nomination to be the chair, they could say, well, I don't want to support it. Why, I'm not going to support the nomination. It seems
Yeah,
like
I
they
just
didn't bother
encourage you
doing
to
it.
watch and see how it happened, and it was wrong. It was just wrong, and we can do better than that.
And there was discussion, there was full transparency.
Well-
On the YouTube. I don't understand why you're saying as if it was something done behind closed doors, Margie. And honestly, if there's discussion here on the board about who would like to be chairperson, and Mr.
There wasn't discussion. There wasn't
Well,
discussion.
Yeah, he volunteered to take that position, and it was agreed to by the members of the planning commission.
Well, he didn't do that in an open meeting. He agreed to that before the meeting started.
It was an open meeting. It was a publicized open meeting.
And again, it's just kind of like.
Was it on the agenda? Wasn't
Yes.
It was on the
it
agenda.
Yes.
Okay, it was on the agenda, so.
Again, it feels like politics. You and Mr. Husband are zone leaders in the same precinct in West Goshen Township, and the same thing the Republicans did, the Democrats are doing. So I just wanted to point that out. Both sides.
So that's
do
really
the
what
same
your
thing.
point is.
I understand your problem, quite frankly.
Oh, and I filled out a right to know request for the resumes or letters of interest from the 3 alternates. Because again, there was no discussion about the alternates. It's like, oh, he was here the longest, and he didn't even speak from the dais. So it was just weird. We can do better than the planning commission did at that meeting, and I encourage you to watch.
Just for my recollection, did you object when Mr. Crum was appointed to the full board? I don't think you did.
It's not about personality.
So this is
Trust me, it's not about personality.
It's about the process?
It's about the process.
So why did you bring up Mr. Husband then? Okay, so let's move on. Is there anyone else with where are we? There's a question about the appointments.
Mr. Chairman, there's a motion and a second.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor said aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 11, discussion and possible approval of the issuance of a letter of commitment authorizing a 20% match for Green Light Go grant application with East Goshen Township. Chris, I think this is with you, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So before the board this evening is consideration to authorize the issuance of a letter of commitment for a 20% match for a Green Light Go grant application with East Goshen Township. By way of background information, the board authorized participation in this grant at the December 16, 2025 meeting. The application intends to support continued operation and maintenance of the Rhythm Adaptive Control System along the Westchester Pike Corridor. East Goshen Township completed the scope application, which was submitted on January 1st, 2026. Based on this, they've updated the application to take into account the comments issued by the PA Department of Transportation. And the new submission is due March 30th. East Goshen Township is requesting letters of commitment from West Goshen and Westtown Townships to include in their application. I'll note that it's my understanding this is also going to be on Westtown Township's agenda for next Monday night. The commitment amount is 20%, which would be $17,250 based on the application. Award announcements would most likely be in early 2027, so any cost would be allocated in the 2027 budget. Essentially, what's before the board this evening is authorizing me to submit a letter to East Goshen Township saying that we are willing to commit $17,250 as a match requirement in the event that the application is awarded by PennDOT.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions from the board? If we don't get this grant, are we still intending to push on with this project, do you believe, across the 3 municipalities, or is that an open question?
I believe that's an open question I can pose. I haven't seen anything from my colleagues indicating that they wouldn't pursue it, but that's still an open question.
This traffic light maintenance, upgrades, capital investment, it's quite substantial. This is like the second issue we've had this year, not issue, but second time this year the visibility of the cost of this equipment is becoming apparent, at least to me personally. I wasn't aware of how expensive it was.
You don't see the ones that are hit by hidden accidents that the chief sends me to send forward to our insurance.
Okay.
Which all get reimbursed, by the way.
Good.
I just got a check today.
Any questions from the board?
Well, just following that, I mean, considering the $17,250 for this period of time of maintaining and monitoring those 13 intersections looks like a pretty good deal to me. So.
Well, that's our share of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, only 4 of them in West Goshen.
So what I foresee occurring is the application gets submitted. We hear, as I always tell the board, 8 to 12 months. So we hear in 8 to 12 months. If it doesn't get awarded, we regroup with our partner municipalities and see what the path forward is. If it does get awarded, then our allocation is 20%.
Yeah, I mean, we've already committed to the 3 municipalities already committed to pursuing the grant. So if we just need to support the grant application with, a letter saying that we will commit to the match, I think that's fine. So I will make a motion to approve the issuance of a letter of commitment authorizing $17,250 as the 20% match for the Green Light Go grant application that East Goshen Township is submitting. Thank you. Is there any public comment or questions about the motion? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 12 is reports for the month of February 2026. We start with the police report presented by Chief Michael Carroll.
Thank you. The report from the police department for February 2026. We responded to 1,834 calls for service. 30 of those were alarms, and 2 of those alarms were found to be valid alarms. We responded to 91 accidents, 25 of which were reportable accidents, and we drove a total of 16,773 miles. We performed 14 assists to other departments for a total of about 5.5 hours, and we received 10 assists from other departments. We performed extra traffic enforcement on Westchester Pike, Snyder Avenue, and Airport Road, Fern Hill Road, South Main Street, Spruce Avenue, Daly Pike, North Five Points Road, and South Matlock Street. Our officers performed their normal monthly training duties, and in addition to that, Officer Barrett attended Technical Collision Investigation School, which is a 2-week crash investigation school. Officer Ash and Officer Virgilio attended MIXAP certification, which is motor carrier safety certifications. Detective May attended a crime scene investigation class, and Officer Needham completed her FAA drone pilot exam and passed, so she's now one of our drone operators. In addition to that, I wanted to thank Mr. Hellman for his acknowledgement. Corporal O'Connor from the Pennsylvania State Police, who was murdered, was a friend of many people in our department. He was a local kid who went to Henderson High School. He was a Westchester volunteer fireman. Everyone here feels like they lost one of their own, so I appreciate the acknowledgement. Thank you.
Okay, questions for the chief?
I have one question. I'm just curious. The assist calls that you mentioned, for this month there was 14 of them, and managed to 5.5 hours. Just looking back, back in January, there was like 31 assist calls to managed to 14.5 hours. And also the from assist calls also dramatically reduced this month compared to January. Any idea why?
I mean, that's call driven. One investigation can require a bunch of assists, and if you don't get that one investigation, you don't get all those assists.
So it could be just one incident, it could really drive.
It could be, yes.
Okay.
I guess since we've been discussing this quite a bit tonight, Chief, I don't know if you have the number off the top of your head, but how many times has the police department had ICE come in with a criminal warrant you have assisted with in the last 12 months?
I'm not aware of any. We were notified twice, but I would think it was more than a year ago when they were looking at an address in West Goshen. They did not request our assistance. They just let us know they were going there. We did not get called there. We had no interaction.
Thank you. Any questions for the Chief? Thank you very much for your report.
You're welcome.
Next up is Board of Super. Well, just as I always say this, the board in its packet receives information from the two fire companies and Good Fellowship Ambulance Company about their monthly statistics. This information is available if anyone is interested in it. We only talk about it on an as-needed basis during the year. Next up is Board of Supervisors announcements. I'm going to start to my left tonight, Mr. Hellman. My left is Mr. Hellman. Walman. I always start my right usually, so I was looking at John, I looked over here and said talk to my left. Sorry, Nate, over to you.
Quite all right. February 17th attended America 250 meeting at East Goshen Township in reference to America 250, which is coming up. I'll talk about it more in a bit. February 23rd, a Zoom meeting on America 250 with the county. February 25th, the Historic Commission. I attended at East Goshen Township a lecture by Noah Lewis, which was extremely good. And upcoming, we have an event on March 26th at West Goshen Township. Ned Donahue will discuss his book, Prisoner of Congress, on the Quakers during the Revolution. I suggest everybody get tickets, which are free. Today I attended, again, another America 250 meeting at East Goshen Township. March 3rd, I attended on Zoom the Westchester University / West Goshen Leadership Task Force, which is a meeting held every other month to discuss issues between the university and West Goshen Township. That's all.
Just on that they started, what was the discussion? Were there any issues there that were brought up of concern?
Nothing of note at this time. Just moving forward with the plan.
Okay, thanks.
Nate, if you don't get a ticket in advance, can you not be admitted to the Ned Donahue talk?
I believe they still let you in, yeah.
Okay, we're not sold out or never.
They're not sold out. As of today, there were 40 tickets.
Okay.
Sold or given away.
Yeah. Thanks. Tina?
Yeah, a couple things. This past month, I've been doing a lot of work on getting the companies together that do fire and EMS studies and models that we talked about at our last coalition meeting. And also trying to get cost estimates so that I can present it at the next COG meeting on March 19th. I've been studying different models and reports that these vendors did for specifically Montgomery County in 2023, and they did the Borough of Kennett in 2025. So I did reach out to 4 companies. 2 of them got back to me with estimated costs to perform this study. And we also got into some of the details of what they would offer, what would be in the reports, which is similar to the ones I reviewed. And then also, in the meantime, John and I got together to send out homework to GFAC, Goshen, and Westchester Fire that they need to get back to us with 6 different items, not only so that it'll help evaluate the cost better, but also will give us a flavor for our mission statement that we need to present, to develop and present. So once they did their homework, John and I have set up meetings with the 3 entities over the next 3 weeks to go over their 4-page document that they gave us that we requested on 6 points that we wanted from them. So we have meetings set up next 3 weeks before the next coalition meeting, which is going to be on March 26th. And at that meeting, the major agenda will be to discuss, where we're going. At that point, I would have been met with COG. We would have given them costs this week or next week, and see where we go from there. So, so that was a lot this past month. And then I guess February 26th, we had a joint meeting with the Historical Commission on the draft ordinance. March 5th, I attended the Chamber of Business and Industry Legislative Regulatory meeting, and that's it. Any questions?
Questions, Tina? Yeah, appreciate the update. That sounds like a lot of work you have underway there.
It'll be worth it in the end.
Okay. John?
Sure. Just a couple of things. It's been a busy month, but I just want to bring up a couple of things. Wednesday, February the 18th, Chief Carroll and myself met with Ms. Joyce Chester. She's the CEO of the Friends Association. They have acquired a building here in the township. And what they do is they provide temporary housing assistance to families facing homelessness. We discussed traffic concerns and also operational concerns. There's going to be a networking breakfast on Wednesday, March the 25th, a week from tomorrow, at the farmhouse at the People's Light in Malvern. And I sent invitations to all the members of the board if they would wish to attend. On Tuesday, March the 10th, I attended a virtual forum on data centers. It's sponsored by Chester County Association of Township Organizations and the Chester County and Montgomery Counties planning commissions. The topics covered were the overview of data centers, state policy and legislation update, impacts on electric grids and generation needs, environmental and community impacts, and resources from county and regional planning commissions regarding data center ordinances that could be adopted by townships. Takeaways from the forum, and went on for like 4 hours. There was a lot of information there. Unfortunately, the first half of it was hard to understand, but the second half, they got their act together, and we were able to understand and hear what was being talked about in the presentation. But at the very end, that probably was the most important one, and that was a presentation by Chester County Planning Commission. They're going to be offering a guide on developing an ordinance for data centers that they will be offering to townships in the county for them to consider as part of their zoning. And we're right in the process of doing this zoning rewrite, and data centers is one of those things I think we have to address. And they encourage that zoning action be encouraged. Even if the general sentiment is a strong no or a strong yes for data centers in your municipalities, you still should need to have an ordinance regarding data centers. The county ordinance guidance will be expected by the end of this month. Some issues are still fluid, and there's a risk to creating conflicting regulatory scenarios, so that's the reason why we need to all get on board with this. Now, by law, we have to provide a zone area for data centers because it's required by law for this to be the case. So we need to have something in our zoning ordinances that would provide guardrails on what data centers would be allowed to do or not do in our township. So that's something I think we need to address. Next item was the CRC is going to have a Goose Creek cleanup this Saturday, March the 21st. We'll be meeting at the McDonald's parking lot, or the parking lot behind McDonald's there on Montgomery Avenue. And it's beginning at 9 o'clock and goes until 11:30 a.m. And then finally, I just want to wish Cindy Holloman well in her upcoming retirement as administrative assistant to the police department after 3 decades of service to the township. That concludes my report.
Thank you, John. Just going back to the data center, so we don't have it listed as a use right now in our ordinances. It's one of those new uses that's really happened in the last 2 or 3 years. I guess loads of municipalities are behind the 8 ball when it comes to having something in place that, has conditions on where they get sited and all the rest of it. So zoning and also conditions on requirements for them during land development. So this is a big issue right now within the county.
So as a follow-up item to the joint meeting, Kristen was going to provide an ordinance that she was working on for another client of hers, and she did provide that to Gilmore Associates. And in fact, Shelby and I have a meeting with Gilmore on Monday to kind of go over the next steps in the zoning ordinance based on the comments that were received. And that's going to be one of them. But yes, Kristen did provide the model ordinance that she was working on to Gilmore Associates for incorporation.
Chris, just remind us, what is our timeline to try to get a revised, modernized zoning ordinance in place? So should a request come into this township through a data center, when will we have our ducks in a row?
I would hope by the end of June, maybe sometime over the summer.
So 3 or 4 months from now then?
Correct.
Okay. Ari, have you any comments to offer on this? I mean, you're obviously, the legal issues that have come up with these data center requests are probably keeping many lawyers busy in Chester County.
It is. Fundamentally, it comes down to the same kind of policy decisions that the board makes with respect to any zoning matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where is the appropriate location for the use? Infrastructure issues related to power, water, etc. But there are best practices that are evolving. Many municipalities are presently evaluating similar ordinances in one stage or another.
Thank you. Okay, that was the end of your report, John. So I have a couple of announcements. The board met in executive session on February the 20th, reviewing the performance objectives for 2026 with the township manager. We also met the same day with Chief of Police to review legal and personnel matters. I participated in the Chester County Environmental and Energy Advisory Board meeting on February the 25th. The board met again in executive session on March the 11th to discuss a real estate matter, and the board met in executive session just prior to this meeting to discuss a code enforcement legal issue. Any questions for the Board of Supervisors? Okay, then we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is Township Manager's announcements.
Mr. Chairman, the Township's monthly e-newsletter will be issued on Friday, March 20th, 2026. In terms of capital projects, the information to be submitted for the elective pay option on the Inflation Reduction Act was submitted to the Internal Revenue Service on February 24th, and I did send it certified so we'd be able to track it. It was received by them on February 27th. So assuming that everything was filed properly, according to the information on the IRS's website, it should be about 45 days. So we're waiting to hear on that. The survey base plan has been completed for the Paoli Pike sidewalk that was discussed previously by the board. PennDOT recently provided the updated right-of-way information, and Carroll Engineering has completed a sketch plan for the sidewalk, and they're moving forward with preparing the cost estimates for the township.
Question, Bill, on that one, Chris. Is that sketch plan available?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay.
I believe. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, the reason why I ask is because we've had some preliminary discussion with the landowners there that would be impacted, and they, generally speaking, were on board, but they don't know exactly what we're talking about. The sketch plan would certainly be helpful for us to continue on that conversation.
If I know, after working with Chris for almost 5 years, he'll probably deliver both the sketch plan and the cost estimate at the same time. So once everything is kind of put together, it'll be delivered as one package.
And you have to deal with it?
I don't know. I have an update meeting with him on the 23rd, so we'll get an update on kind of where that stands. The Basin Road Stream Bank project that was previously discussed, it looks like the owners for 1124 Warren Road are going to sign the revised easement for the required temporary construction easement. So we're hoping to have that shortly, and then that'll be brought before the board, and then we can proceed forward with bidding that project out. That's the stream bank project along the property that the township owns off of Basin and Warren Road as part of our pollution reduction plan. So there's a temporary construction easement that's required as part of that project.
When do you think we possibly, feasibly could start that project, do you think? Put it at the bid and start it?
Probably put it out to bid over the summer, start it probably in the fall.
Is that project, would that be greater than 2 acres and eligible for potentially the Stroud water grant? Or is it all so integral with the stream bank restoration project that the landscaping associated with that has to be done with that one project?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that question.
They will follow up on that. Thanks, Chris.
In terms of the Goose Creek project, the other project that Land Studies scoped out, sampling field work is scheduled for March 23rd for the 24th. We have arranged for temporary access to the southern portion of the stream with the owner of Aldi. They provided a consent to enter, and we did provide the requested insurance certificate for the subcontracted driller to complete the due diligence work. We had our kickoff meeting for the Montgomery Avenue flood mitigation project with PennDOT for the multimodal grant that was awarded. I'm still awaiting the grant agreements for the township signature, but Carroll Engineering did submit a PA1 call, and the field survey work is currently on their schedule, but that was delayed due to the winter weather, but they are going to do the field survey work shortly. The family bathroom construction is beginning. The pre-construction conference was conducted on March 4th, and construction is slated to begin on March 23rd and to be completed by June 1st, 2026. So that project should be completed by the time summer camp rolls around. We did contact individuals who have park reservations with us just to notify them of the construction and to make sure that they're aware that certain bathrooms might not be operational during their reservation. So far, everyone's been fine that we've spoken with. In terms of the splash pad project, members from our public works leadership as well as Carroll Engineering had a meeting with General Recreation to kind of go over some options, and Chris Peterson will be here on April 7th to discuss those options with the board prior to putting anything out to bid. We're waiting on final restoration for the North Hill Storm Sewer project, and Carroll Engineering has been in contact with the contractor about scheduling this work. Same thing with the Rosedale Avenue sidewalk project. So once we close out both of those, we'll submit for our reimbursement under their respective grants. And we are holding funds to complete the restoration, and those grant contracts, I believe, go until September of 2026 for North Hill and June of 2027 for the Rosedale Avenue sidewalk project. The 2026 paving project is currently out to bid, and that will be before the board for awarding at the April 7th meeting. The bids will be open on March 24th. They're live on PennBid, and we are slated to pave 5.31 miles of roadways outlined in the paving project.
Yeah, I noticed that Fresh Meadows was was 1/3 of the work. So I presume we finished with the stormwater digging and pipe replacement in that neighborhood.
I believe we have. There will be a proposal that will be coming before the board probably at the April 23rd meeting for the final lining work that needs to be done. Mark's working on that, as well as potential lining in Canterbury as well.
But the lining work in Fresh Meadows would be done before the paving, or even if it isn't, it doesn't disturb the roadways?
It shouldn't disturb the roadways because it's going in the existing pipe and then filling the existing pipe. They shouldn't have to excavate anything.
Okay, sounds good.
If I'm remembering correctly, the lining would be a lot in areas outside of the roadways, would be more easement areas. But Mark is I talked to him about that today. He's actively working on that.
Thank you.
Also at the April 7th meeting, we have gotten pricing from M&K Renovations for the repairs to the pavilion at Cooper Smith Park. Those will be before the board at the April 7th meeting for discussion, because there's a couple options for consideration. And then finally, for the Government Services Center Basin project, that project is still in the vegetation maintenance phase, and we're going to have someone from our codes department do a drone flyover flight at Chris Peterson's recommendation. And finally, the last thing I want to discuss is the intersection improvements at the intersection of Rosedale Avenue and New Street. This has been something that's been on the books for a long time. The Westchester University is proceeding forward with. This is the final of 3 improvements that were required by the borough for a land development project that was approved in their jurisdiction. So construction, they've done some of those improvements. Construction is slated to begin in May of 2026 and be completed by August of 2026. The plans are currently under review by PennDOT and should be received back by the university by the end of this month. I have offered to assist the university in issuing any communications on the project when they're available.
Yeah, we definitely need to coordinate letting township residents know about that construction and any disruption to traffic flow at the same time that they make the announcement, so we're not.
So I've been in touch with Julie Dietrich from the university, and I've offered to coordinate anything with her. So it sounds to me like from our correspondence that they're going to prepare something, and we'll solicit the exact same communication that they're putting together. But I can confirm that with Julie.
Sounds good.
So that is everything that I have.
Any questions for the township manager?
Yeah, can you give us an update on the Wawa that's being proposed at the Wawa, at the Parkway Center?
So our traffic engineer did issue revised comments based on the revisions that were submitted to address the concerns from McDonald's. And he met with their consultants back on February 27th. I believe that they have done a resubmission to Chris, but I don't believe that there have been any review comments generated yet. They did resubmit their highway occupancy permit package to PennDOT at the end of February, and I have not seen any comments from PennDOT come over on that package. So at this time, they do not have a highway occupancy permit from PennDOT for the intersection. I believe they're still in the scoping phase of that.
Margie?
A brief update on the Greystone
In terms of what?
trail dedication.
There's no update at this time. They've been provided a punch list by our former township engineer, and they're still working to address that. I've been given the timeline from the developers to when dedication will occur.
Are we still looking at doing the dedication, the park and the streets, or they're separate, or do we know?
Well, I don't know about the other board members' opinions. I mean, in the past, we've kind of been on the position that we don't want to take the park without having the public access road dedicated to, but we don't want to take the public access road until all the heavy construction work is complete. Now that sounds to me like it should be getting close here this summer, but to Chris's point, we don't have a timeline from the developer as to when they're going to complete the punch list for the park and basically be done with the home construction. But I would expect it to be sometime later this year.
Chris is doing a punch list inspection for, I believe it's phases 5 and 6 on Friday. So I don't know what'll come out of that, but that's still, those are the last two phases.
For the sewer authority, Marge, we've not had any indication of when they would want to offer up the phase 5 and 6 for sewer dedication either yet. That's outstanding as well.
Do you know offhand the punch list on the trails? Were they just a lot of little things, or was there like a big thing, maybe the dam or the lake, or?
I haven't looked at it in quite some time, so I can't say.
The dam is a big issue with respect to what needs to get finished up, and I don't know where. We have tried to assist the developer with getting PADP, I think PADP, to respond to something that was submitted years ago. We use the word plural here, and I don't know if they've received an approval for what they proposed for the remediation of the dam.
And the pond is going to remain the HOA.
Right, are we going to help? Is the township going to assist the HOA with, like, making sure the developer finishes the dam to spec?
Well,
We have one dam, they have HOA
We don't.
is two. Well, we're going to have to be only one dam. The HOA is.
I mean, we were holding it. We did inspections on the dams and provided a punch list. Like whether or not that's been addressed, I can't say.
Now, my concern is not, let's put this out there. When I first moved here, there were some issues with the developer. You know, 12 units on 6 acres, so a lot of headaches on just a really small development. But where I ran into knocking heads specifically with the township solicitor is they kept saying it was up to the homeowners association to work these things out, say getting the dam fixed to completion, with the developer. My argument was the HOA, their HOA, doesn't have any agreement with the developer, the way I understand it. The township approved a subdivision and land development plan, and they're required to build as to what was approved. So my contention always was it's really up to the township to make sure the developer builds everything to spec.
Well, I believe that's what Chris is referring to when he says Carroll Engineering has to complete the inspection of the phase 5 and 6 development.
That's correct.
All right.
I mean, we've already inspected the dam and found it deficient, and we provided that information to the developer, and it needs fixing, so.
Right. Well, my concern is that the township would take dedication of the park, take dedication of the roads, but then the homeowners association may not have taken dedication of the dam and some of the bigger items, and then I feel like they would be left out to dry because the township now has everything
I don't believe the land development plan requires the HOA to do an inspection on the dam. I mean, I presume that it's all within what the township approved and will be inspected.
So to the extent that the township is taking dedication of the dam and has inspected it and it was deficient, the constructor or the developer of the dam, they have to go back and fix it. As far as the homeowners in the homeowners association, when the developer builds out the homeowners association, there's what's called a declaration placed on the property that controls when the declarant, which is the same as the developer, has to turn over control to the homeowners association. It varies from one community to another. It's typically half to 80% of the units. In some cases, it's all the units. Whenever that process plays out, the homeowners have leverage on the developer to ensure that everything's been completed. That's what that process is about. Separately, the township has an interest in making sure that the public improvements are constructed in accordance with the township specifications. So there's two layers of responsibility there. Ultimately, it's the developer who's responsible for constructing everything. The township reviews and inspects components of what they build and accepts dedication for some of those pieces. The homeowners association kind of has the balance of the items.
Is the township holding enough escrow for the dam and some of the other quasi?
I don't know what the status of the escrows are.
The township has escrow in place for all of the phases. There have been a couple of the escrows that have been closed out, but there's still escrow being held.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions for Chris? Okay, Chris, you're covering the zoning officer's announcements.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So just to give an update on some of the cases that were before the zoning hearing board, the case for 310 Kirkland Avenue, that was the noise reduction screen / fence along Route 100 for the Kirkland Woods subdivision. All the testimony was completed and the hearing was closed on February 9th. The zoning hearing board is going to render a decision on that application on March 23rd. The application that was previously brought in front of the board related to 750 East Marshall Street, Unit 108, that was the group that wanted to utilize that, seek a special exception, utilize that property for student housing. That application was withdrawn. So there will be no hearing and it will not be going forward. The application for 900 Airport Road Unit 6, which was the one for the goalie trainer, that application was scheduled to go forward on March 23rd. However, because of the snowstorm, it will now be going forward on March 23rd. And then finally, the application that was discussed this evening for 1005 Saunders Court for Eldridge, that will be heard by the zoning hearing board at their meeting on March 23rd. So they have two hearings before them on Monday. And then lastly, just to make the announcement, the board will have a conditional use hearing on the Westchester University Master Plan on April 28th at 6 p.m. So there will be notifications issued. The Planning Commission has started their review on that. They discussed the plan at length at their meeting on March 10th, and they're going to do additional review and comment at their meeting on April 14th.
Are urban engineers going to present to the Planning Commission in April?
Yes. So urban engineers, we did have them in attendance. We did have them in attendance at their meeting on March 10th. However, that meeting was essentially an opportunity for the public to ask questions and for the university to present the plan as well. We've uploaded the presentation on the township website with the other information for the university master plan. And so the next meeting will be more of urban engineers presentation.
The university's master plan, I know it's been updated, that's on our website. There was, I forget, the issue with the college arms is being kept separate from the master plan process. Is that correct or not?
I believe it is being kept separate. It did come up during the planning commission discussion, but I believe it is being kept separate.
Okay.
The university they did a very high level review of everything. Steve, I'll put you on the spot. Would you say that was accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
So that'll be April 28th.
Any questions about the zoning officer's efforts?
Just on the master plan, getting follow up on that. Right now, there's a position on the master plan that's dated February 2026. There's been a lot of comments coming in from the planning commission members as well as residents. to the Westchester University. Are they going to come out with another version of that master plan before a conditional use hearing, do you think?
I hope not. We're on like version 3.
I know.
I to be perfectly honest with you, like I hope not, because what they should ultimately do is kind of go through the process with what they have and then refine the final document after all the comments are received, because it wouldn't really be right to update it further and then get feedback from the board as part of the hearing and then update it further. So I kind of hope that I haven't heard anything that they're going to submit another version, because they're going forward in front of the borough, I believe at the end of this month for their hearing. So I just kind of hope they kind of move forward with what they have. We're on version 3, I believe.
I presume that the changes are fairly minor.
Well, the most, I don't know how much, because you're going to be sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity, I don't know how much I can discuss in terms of changes.
Well, it doesn't matter. Let's keep going. Thank you. Any other questions for Chris? Okay, then we'll move on to agenda item 16, approval of the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes from February the 3rd and February the 17th, 2026. The board members had any feedback to Chris on the meeting minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'll note I received some typo corrections from Mr. Wallman, and all those corrections have been made.
Okay.
Just one minor correction from page 3, 5th paragraph at the bottom.
With February 3rd or February 7th?
February 3rd, page 7. Mr. Beecher stated the Board of Supervisors this evening in consideration issue the final award to BSS Contractors LLC. I believe that should read to final award to Donald E. Messenger Incorporated.
That is correct.
And then Corporation for the Family Veteran. So just make that one change there.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February the 3rd and February the 17th, 2026 with corrections as noted. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any public comment or questions on the meeting minutes? Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 17 is ratification of the bills to be paid from the General Fund, Sewer Revenue Fund, the Waste and Recycling Fund, and the Capital Reserve Fund dated March the 3rd. So we did not have a Board of Supervisors meeting on March the 3rd. It was canceled, but the board individually approved the bills to be paid. So this is an agenda item to ratify that in a collective decision. Any questions or comments on the board? I will make a motion to ratify the bills to be paid as described for March the 3rd.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions from the board on those bills? Okay, is there any public comment or questions? Margie?
Yeah, quick question on page 11, so all the way down, second page, the last one. Under contracted services, and it says a professional membership, or membership renewal, $500. I'm just wondering what contracted service we have that we're paying for membership or something.
This is on the waste recycling, Chris. I don't know if you know.
Yes, that's for the professional recycling. That's for that's professional recycling services.
Yes, we're a member of this prop organization. I think, is it Lisa that's a representative on that?
Yep, that's correct.
I think it's like a best practice sharing organization, suggestions, etc.
It's a statewide professional recycling association.
Any other questions? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 18 is approval of the Treasurer's Report dated February the 28th for the General Fund, the Sewer Revenue Fund, the Waste Recycling Fund, and the Capital Reserve Fund, and the bills to be paid from these funds. Does the board have any questions on those items? This is a board member willing to make a motion to approve the Treasury Report and the bills to be paid from the funds that I described.
Make that
there a second? Second. Thank you. Is there any public comment or questions on that bills list? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 4-0. I'll move to adjourn the meeting at 8:13. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Nate. All in favor of adjournment say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Solution reduction.